Okay, good morning, and thank you for joining us for another Sales and Marketing Friday Talks. Every second Friday, we share insights, best practices, and anecdotes from B2B technology companies. And as you see, today we are actually running this live stream from very different place. We just finished our big event and webinar for Latvian Chamber of Commerce members. And so we continue with the live stream for our Friday Talks right from here. And this is a very special place. As you can see, it's like with a lot of history, I think, and really interesting place to be. They helped us to get the room so that we can have a conversation with you guys. So thanks for joining, and together with me, as usually, is Roland's. And topic for our today's discussion is about the sales and marketing alignment. What can be more interesting, isn't it?
Yes, I think it's actually is a very interesting topic, and where I see the interest in this topic is that actually, if you look at running companies, established companies who already have marketing, who already have sales, right? Then improving alignment between marketing and sales is like some secret resource that suddenly you can unlock, right? Because if we look, and particularly if we look at what we can call, I don't know, legacy companies or companies with more than average experience, they are doing things in certain way, like traditionally how it was taught in business school back some 10 20 years. And very often marketing and sales is working in separate silos, separate departments. Even more, quite often, there's even gender difference that, in marketing, there are mostly ladies, right? And in sales, there are mostly gentlemen, right? And typically, there's quite a lot of friction between those departments. And there are many reasons for those frictions. One of those is that, marketing generally looks in longer term and medium term, right? They think about generating demand, about awareness, about audiences, etc., etc. And sales, from other hand, they are motivated by rather short-term results. Basically, did you met or didn't your sales quota, let's say, for quarter, right? So this is one source of kind of disagreements and conflicts. And another is also that these are different worlds which are not too well connected.
Yeah, it's interesting also what I was just searching for some interesting insights for this conversation, and what I was surprised that there is an estimation that the misalignment between sales and marketing actually costs about more than $3 billion every year. So for organizations, and if you think of this number, it's like huge. It's huge, and of course, probably it's a global number and stuff like that. But if you translate it to the local companies with maybe just mid-sized and small organization, still everything what you described exists in every organization. Whether this is just a one person at marketing and 2 person in sales, or it's like 10. Marketing people and 50 sales guys who are running around and so on. This misalignment generates a lot of hassle, a lot of challenges and inefficiencies in a way. And I think, especially now, looking at the situation where we are all, where people are talking about recession, they're talking definitely about the difficult economical situation and challenges in getting new customers and getting deals done and so on. So the role of proper lead generation and well executed marketing is growing, and it's essential in achieving any growth results nowadays. So therefore, let's just think, what are these key steps, what can be taken in order to improve the situation moving forward into 2024, for instance. So what do you think, Roland? Where should marketing and sales organizations or general companies start when thinking about the alignment? What the starting point is?
Well, from my perspective, I would say that starting point is is at the beginning. Basically, I think both teams and probably also other teams such as customer success, perhaps support, product people, certainly should first of all get aligned on the big level, on the level of strategy planning. So I would say that that even if company, let's say, has a go-to-market strategy which was perhaps developed by marketing, they need to do review, and this time they need to have sales people at the table, right? And they need to be like essential part of this process, and their insights need also to be incorporated. And there are many reasons for that. Well, first of all, right, despite some perceived differences between departments, salespeople know their stuff. They are closing deals like every day. They are talking with customers much more than marketing does, and there's quite a lot they can bring to the table, right? And another thing is that they can validate the market research results and assumptions that marketing is coming up with, right? Because there's always some kind of margin of error somewhere, right? And even if let's say marketing has done customer interviews and so on, it's best if it is validated with sales. And another thing is that when you're planning GTM strategy, you're not planning only things that relate to marketing, right? Because, for example, if you think about, let's say, ideal customer profile, right? The decisions you are making in go-to-market strategy directly impact sales. So whatever decisions or choices are made during strategy planning, they need to be landed with sales. It means that, let's say, if there are certain decisions about positioning must be reflected in the sales process, in the way sales conversations are led, in the way customer objections are handled, and so on. So all this have to reflect throughout organization. And if you just don't have, let's say, salespeople at the table, it is not likely to go too well. And of course, implementation part, right? Sales need to know what is decided. They need to contribute. And ideally, they also need to be enthusiastic about supporting change, implementing it, suggesting improvements, and so on. So that I would say is the first thing that needs to be in place.
Yeah, you rightly pointed that everything starts with the strategy and joint planning. And I think also from our experience, by working in our own companies and also helping other customers, we see that this in any case, whether you are working with the sales or alone, is very essential step to start with. And however, what I would like also to mention is that it's also important to understand where to focus in terms of the revenue. So from where this, and I would even start with, what do we want to achieve? Like, what is the target? And I have seen many situations where marketing even not aware what is the new business target for the sales, for instance, right? And so that should be definitely communicated properly. So, hey guys, from sales side, this is the target we need to generate this year or this quarter or whatever. It should be properly, split by months, by segments, by countries, and so on. But then it's also a matter of joint kind of exercise on, but from where the growth comes, both like segments. So what the segments we want to address and where the most potential exists, right? Secondly, it also probably can be a geography or any other kind of segments what we can imagine you might have. But this is the first step in general before we just jump into like any other conversation.
Yes, I totally agree, and indeed it's the case that very often marketing is living in a bit detached reality that they really don't know about how sales are doing or how the revenue goals look like. And one more thing is that actually, if a company, let's say today, company is planning the next year activities, it's very important also to understand that, if you look at data, then marketing typically is bringing in around 30% of new business, right? Another 30% is coming from sales development, basically outreach, phone, email outreach, and so on. And some 25% are coming from direct sales, when just some deal just came, talked with sales, deal was closed, right? But I think if in terms of reaching growth goals, it's important to understand that probably the most opportunities would come from what I would call hybrid campaigns. So it will not be something that sales do alone or something that marketing is doing alone, right? So marketing can contribute with what? Marketing can contribute with insights, with data, with perhaps better segmentation of existing audience, being able, let's say, with marketing automation to provide lead scoring, provide sales, let's say, with a list of leads most likely making purchases, right? That would be one thing. Second thing, this could be like really simple campaigns. For example, marketing can prepare some kind of content, let's say ebook, right? And run simple campaign with ebook registration, right? That would be marketing part, and sales part then would be doing let's say follow-up on that campaign, right? But again, for that campaign to be successful, you need both parts present. And my opinion would be actually that if we look at planning the next year, I think most companies would be better off if they first of all explore those hybrid growth opportunities. What can they get from collaboration between marketing and sales?
Yeah, additional on top of that, what I think is important is to translate those targets into the pipeline KPIs. And that also helps to align very much, because then you see, okay, that number of deals or the revenue amount, what we need to generate, what does it mean in terms of, the number of MQLs or leads or even website visitors or event attendees and stuff like that. So we translate really the end result, what we aiming for, into very specific KPIs split by stages of the pipeline, but also split by the activities. And then we all know what actually we do and why do we do this event and how many actually attendees we want to have out of this event and how that impacts the pipeline.
Yes, exactly. I think this kind of analytical approach must be like at foundations of planning. And I think that by knowing those targets, again, in terms of pipeline, very specifically, just to hit this target, how many, as you said, MQLs we need to generate, it also serves as a good input to figure out what kind of activities could generate these kind of results, right? And then I would recommend for companies actually to for sales and marketing to come together and try to identify those activities and try to generate more activities than they have resources or capacity to do. And why to do so? Just so that they can actually choose from a longer list, so that they can choose short list. So choose the best, those with lowest risk, highest returns, and so on. And also, actually, when you are delivering or executing these campaigns, you will sooner or later you will realize that some campaigns are working better than you expected, and some are working worse, right? So it's very good then to be able to quickly be able to make decision that, let's say, if we see by metrics that this campaign is not working, right, we just switch it off and we look at the backlog. We let's say implement some campaign that we thought is not so good.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this agile way of executing is super important. And then you need to do also like some experiments, smaller or larger experiments, but like test and see what works and then scale. But I think like if you summarize what we just discussed, so everything starts with defining the target and making like everyone understand how this target will be contributed by different motions, by different activities and programs and everything else. Secondly, it's also important to understand from where we can actually deliver this target in terms of the segments, ICPs, and so on and so forth. So from which segments and which opportunities are these existing customers, upsells, or these are completely new, let's say greenfield customers and so on. And then that all translates into the GTM or go-to-market plan, both on strategic level, so where we have definition of how do we do that and which strategies we do apply and so on and so forth. But as you said, like, hey, what activities do we run? What is the plan for us for the next quarter and for the next half of the year? How do we prioritize budgets? How do we prioritize resources and so on? And that's a very good basis already for having meaningful conversation between those who are at sales and marketing and so on. But as you rightly point out, also it's crucial to have right KPIs so that we understand. Okay, but does it really bring us results, and whether it's performing as we expect it or not? What do you think about this one?
Yes, absolutely. Because if as the saying goes, the best thing to do if you find out you are riding a dead horse is to step off it, right? So you need to have KPIs, and not only just to check performance and measure temperature and to figure out how good it's going, but also early indicators, which in case if something doesn't work as well as you planned, allows you to quickly make decision and stop doing that. But I think there's another very important thing, which is maybe down to level even more detailed than just KPIs or stages of pipeline. And we also have seen it again and again that it's super important that there is very clear understanding between marketing and sales what actually are criteria of, let's say, marketing qualified lead, right? Because very often sales are really frustrated and they complain that when asked, okay, how about the leads that marketing generated, they say, well, it's just a bunch of random people. They don't want to buy anything, right? But it's very important for sales to understand that that most of leads generated, even if they are quality leads, they will not be ready to purchase today, right? And they will still need quite a lot of work. But these expectations with sales must be very, very clear, right? What are criteria if true that we will consider that lead is qualified and lead is worth sales time, right? Because normally if you generate, let's say, marketing qualified lead, typically you send that lead to sales, and sales is investing some work researching the lead, making follow-up call, talking, trying to qualify, right? And of course, if sales expects that the leads marketing generates just require to send an offer or send an invoice, they will be frustrated, right? So sales need to know exactly what they are getting and what is required from them, right? And sales shouldn't be under illusions that leads that marketing is providing are basically ready to buy, right? The best is if there is a conversation, right? And if both marketing and sales agree about criteria. So Andres, what do you think? What's from your perspective would be good criteria for reasonably good marketing qualified leads that sales could work with?
I think that corresponds with what you mentioned in the beginning, like that part of the planning there should be also like a conversation about the ideal customer profile and whom we want to have as part of our pipeline. And that actually pretty much defines those qualification criteria. Secondly, of course, it's about agreeing on what criteria we use to disqualify the leads, right? And that's even maybe more important because somehow this often overlooked. Like, what are the indications that this is not a buyer for us at the moment, at least? And another aspect what I would like to touch on is that, as you also mentioned, that we should be having right expectations that, hey, we are generating demand, but everyone who registers to our systems and everything should not be considered as a potential buyer immediately, at least. And so the question is, how do we develop this interest? How do we nurture them so that they become more warmed up, more qualified, and more ready to have a sales conversation? That's, I think, the subject of the conversation between sales and marketing during this go-to-market planning exercise. And so we have also activities which helps us doing this. We have content which helps us doing this, and so on and so forth. And at the same time, we also have a system like scoring. If company uses some marketing automation tools or anything like that, it can be also manually done, of course, but ideally it's automated, which helps us to identify among those hundreds of leads, possibly what we have in our pipeline, which of them signaling that they are ready to have a sales conversation. And so that sales is supplied by those and not just everyone who registered for ebook or whatever event or something.
I think one thing you mentioned, which is super important, and the importance of which you can learn actually after some time has passed, is a lead scoring. And lead scoring is something that typically marketing automation can do. And the way it works is that lead scoring allows you to basically assign certain number of points based on, let's say, certain inputs in the registration forms that people, when they are signing up, let's say for your webinars or for your content, are submitting, right? And it allows also to add additional points for the behavior of these people. So, for example, if they return to your website, you want to increase their score. If they are reading your newsletter, you want to increase their score. If they are looking at pricing information, you want to increase even more, because if they look at pricing, it indicates they must have some kind of intent, right? And although, if you are just implementing marketing automation, you don't have so long history, and you don't see the value of this lead scoring over time. As you nurture your audience, and as people are returning to your website and they are returning to your webinars, over time you get very valuable information, because you can sort the people the people in your database based on their profile, based on their behavior, and that actually is a very good source of the same hybrid activities. So basically, we can generate from, let's say, marketing automation, let's say top 100% of leads with the highest lead score, and we can sit together, marketing with sales, and just look very specifically, okay, what can we do actually to convert these leads to sales, right? And most likely, again, this will be hybrid marketing and sales activity, not sales alone or not marketing alone.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's a good basis for having this conversation and planning the activities on one hand. On the other hand, I think it's also about making sure that we all aligned on what are the expectations, right? So that what type of leads we generate. And I doubt that there is a company who starts completely from ground zero, right? They already have something in the pipeline. So that also can be used for this type of conversation. So, for instance, how do we activate or how do we maybe activate and drive the existing pipeline forward, right? So how can we impact the velocity of the pipeline? And another thing for both sales and marketing to understand in context of their targets, how long it takes actually for us to close the deal. So what does it mean for us to have today's activities impacting, and when they will be impacting the business for us? And I think sometimes and very often we see that there is inadequate expectations. Yes. We have also many times been asked, hey guys, let's run a webinar or let's run something this month because we are missing a few hundreds of thousands in our pipeline, or we need to close more deals and so on this month. But in the enterprise, in the B2B space, it's very rarely happens like you can really, in such a short notice, do anything about this.
Actually, you touched upon a very important point, because remember we had a founder from this Danish company. I forgot the name. Sorry. Dream Data, yes, exactly, and I recommend you watching this webcast as well, because they had really hands-on analytics about the length of buyer's journey, And remember, if you are selling B2B software as a service product, the average buyer's journey from the first contact when person visited the website, right, was 233 days. That's 7.6 months, which means that actually, if you are planning now in December your marketing activities for the next year, it means it's too late. It's like half year or more too late. So ideally, you would need to plan your activities 6, maybe 9 months ahead. Of course, there are some tactics how you can activate market and how you can use, let's say, lead scoring data to identify those of your existing leads who are most likely to buy, and you can accelerate some deals. But really, for marketing to be efficient, planning today for the next year is half year too late, unfortunately. Andres, I wanted to ask you, now, what do you think, what would be best ways for companies to actually integrate marketing and sales, how to get it done? Because I think that marketing, unless really CMO is a real strong leader with superb political skills and superb lobbying, for marketing leader alone to sell this idea of marketing sales collaboration is quite difficult for the number of reasons we talked about earlier. What do you think, what would be the best way for company actually to make sure that marketing and sales collaborate?
Yeah, I think first of all, it starts with the role of marketing in the organization. And as you said, so it's of course depends on the personality behind this role, like CMO or whatever we call it, head of marketing. But I think it also depends on the senior leadership or CEO of the company. How do they perceive marketing? Do they see that as a strategic growth engine for them, or they see it more like as a supportive function? And of course, those who have who see that as a growth engine for them have much better positioning and situation and versus other competitors. For sure, we see that, and there are a number of researches about these Boston consulting groups, for instance. Few years ago, were doing this research, and when they found out that companies with better developed marketing, they have by 30% more revenue growth, but they have better profitability and many other things. Right? That's obvious. That's the where all the start. And if marketing is part of the leadership team, that's already, I think, a big support. Secondly, as we see that many companies now merge sales and marketing together into one team or into at least one leader, and they might be then responsible for revenue rather than for the marketing alone. And then there are just teams and roles who are responsible for separate parts of the pipeline, as we just discussed. Right, there is a pipeline part which is in getting customers on board into the pipeline, and then there are activities which develop this further. And so I think one of the fundamentals in aligning this is putting people on the same objectives, on the same compensation even, or compensation which helps and motivates them cooperate and go towards the one objective, which is revenue. And very often we see marketing is not responsible directly for the revenue, and I think that's super important. And another one is about what we all just discussed, right? Having a common ground for cooperation. So having a strategy, but also a tactical plan with KPIs, targets, and related to that other things. But it's also important to have a proper rhythm, so that how do we move this forward? It's about having operational activities, like, I don't know, maybe we meet on weekly basis, and then we look at how the pipeline develops, what is the quality of our leads, how we can improve it, everything what you also mentioned, right? But it's also having it on the strategical level, on the leadership team. So how do the marketing and sales contribute to growth of the company? So do we have enough pipeline coverage? Do we have enough velocity of the pipeline, or good enough, and so on and so forth? So I think these are essentials what needs to be in place in order to make this cooperation work and facilitate that.
Well, I agree. Also, I think that it is very important to start from being on the same page. So what I have found out is that it's very useful if the team of marketing, sales, and actual management is brought together for, let's say, a briefing about how modern marketing, how modern sales works, how the collaboration looks like, right? Because that's very important just to establish, the common baseline, common language around it, right? And because without that, without a bit of training or without a bit of upgrade, it may be even challenging to understand the, systemic aspects of it, right? What's the role in the growth engine of marketing? What's the sales? How they work together? What's the role of manager and so on? And actually, personally, I have found out that many business leaders from tech companies are very interested in that. I was running a training for them, right, for the second time, and that is for them that's really interesting, right? Because their challenge is how to generate more revenue, right? And they are responsible for everything, because business leader, CEO, or founder, he's responsible. And that's it. And without this knowledge of some basic fundamentals, for them it's quite difficult to initiate change or even evaluate some kind of change proposals, let's say from marketing or maybe from sales.
Absolutely, I agree. I think that requires really a mindset shift on every level, and everything starts, as we know, from the top, right? But on this positive note, so I think that we understand that there is a support needed from the executives of the company to facilitate this cooperation. But at the same time, without people really going and proactively doing this, there should be always some leader who drives that. And we hope you guys who are listening to us are this type of leaders, and definitely will be facilitating this change. It takes time, but it definitely pays off. We see that again and again, companies who have really good level of cooperation between marketing and sales, they outperform companies who doesn't. So we wish you to reach this level of cooperation that really facilitates your growth, not only this year, but also next and upcoming years, because it will be very important. That actually what will make the difference moving forward. So once again, thank you for being with us. We just remind that you always can subscribe to our podcasts, where we have all the recordings of these conversations, and we have already more than 50 available. So feel free to listen to them and give us your feedback. We are looking forward, and we would like to see more guests from you guys coming and sharing your experience. So if you have any idea, any good story, what you believe might be useful and interesting for others, send me or Roland a message on LinkedIn or directly, and we will be happy to discuss with you. Thanks again for being with us. We wish you a great closer of the year, and great start of the new year 2024. Looking forward to our next conversation.
Bye.